Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha. Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari Jashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jamunatira Vanachari Jamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridvardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridvardhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Jashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jashodanandana Braja Jana Jashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jamunatira Vanachari Jamunatira Vanachari Jamunatira Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Jaya Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivajikacharya Stotra Sate His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada Ki Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo Jai Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, you're new? I haven't seen you before. Few times. You're from Chatsworth? Newlands. Alright. Your name, Prabhu? Ravi. Ravi, nice to meet you, Prabhu. You want a pillow? There's some pillows there. There's pillows and shades if you'd like. Okay? Comfortable. Kim Cho? Hindi? Tamil. Suswagatam. Is that how you say? Okay. Hare Krishna. Nice. Thank you for coming, Prabhu. Okay. Does everyone have the verses? We don't have verse papers yet. Okay. Anyway. We carry on. We move forward. So we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam 4:13-23. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Navadyeya Prajapala Prajabhiragavanapi Yadasho Lokapalanam Bibarti Yojasva Tejasa. Okay, you can repeat after me. Navadheya Praja Pala Prajabir Agavan Api Yad Asho Loka Palanam Bibharti Oja Sva Tejasa. Navadheya Prajapala Prajabhiragavanapi Yadasho Lokapalanam Bibharti Ojasva Tejasa. Navadyeya 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 Prajapala Prajabhiragavanapi Yadasho Lokapalanam Bibharti Ojasva Tejasa. Okay. TK. Alright. Na, never. Avidyeya, to be insulted. Prajapala, the king. Prajabhi, by the citizens. Agavan, ever sinful. Api, even though. Yet, because. Ashau, he. Lokapalanam, of many kings. Bibharti, maintains. Oja, prowess. Svatejasa, by personal influence. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada Ki. It is the duty of all citizens in a state never to insult the king, even though he sometimes appears to have done something very sinful. Because of his prowess, the king is always more influential than other ruling chiefs. Purport. According to the Vedic civilization, the king is supposed to be the representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is called Nara Narayana, indicating that Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, appears in human society as the king. It is the etiquette that neither a Brahmana nor a Kshatriya king is ever insulted by the citizens. Even though a king appears to be sinful, the citizens should not insult him. But in the case of Vena, it appears that he was cursed by the Nara Devatas. Therefore, it was concluded that his sinful activities were very grievous. Translation again. It is the duty of all citizens in a state never to insult the king, even though he sometimes appears to have done something very sinful. Because of his prowess, the king is always more influential than all other ruling chiefs. Om Agyantimirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chaksurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabhando Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurhangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Suta Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vansha Kalpatarupyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Ghaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Srila Prabhupada Ki. So in the presence of all my seniors, I'd like to request some blessings that I can say something. I shouldn't actually speak in front of seniors, but by your blessings I will try and say something. Okay. So yeah, this whole chapter is extremely interesting. It's really far out that we have the situation where we have the king, King Anga, and it's no, not King Anga. What's his name? Anga is the wife. What's the king's name again? King Vena's father? It is Anga, okay. Yeah. So King Anga, he is a very pious person, extremely pious, and he's a great king. He's done so well. He's a lover of Brahmanical culture, as we read a few days ago. He's just an all-around very amazing personality. He's a great devotee of the Lord. But somehow or the other, he has the son, Vena, who is a foolish rascal, as Prabhupada puts it in the purport a few purports ago. King Vena, he's like a child killer. When he was a boy and he was playing with his friends, he'd kill his friends and things like that. And although his father tried to discipline him, there was no recourse for him. And so we have such a ruler now in power of the whole world. He is the emperor of the whole world now, such a person. And the things that he did were unspeakable. So generally the Brahmanas, they don't get involved when such a situation is at hand. They don't get involved with the political sphere. Because they're Brahmanas, they're engaged in Brahman. They're engaged in meditation on the Supreme Lord. And similarly, for us, we're, in one sense, maybe we're not aiming to be Brahmanas, but we are aiming to be Brahmanas in another sense. We're trying to be focused on spiritual activities. And so we don't get so much into the political sphere. We don't read so much about Mr. Ramaphosa and all of his different associates. We focus on spiritual life. We focus on Krishna. We focus on our japa. We focus on reading, and we focus on pushing on the movement of Srila Prabhupada and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But sometimes the Brahmanas have to get engaged. Sometimes when the situation gets too extreme, then we have to take action, as we see the Brahmanas did. They had to take action against King Vena. In this verse, it's explained that the king should never be insulted by the citizens of the state. The king should always be respected. And that's a little bit difficult in our time. I think the only political talks is insults of the leaders, and justly so for most of the time. because the leaders of nowadays, there is something like King Vena. Maybe not so bad. We've had our King Venas in the past. We've had people like Adolf Hitler. We've had some of the terrorists in the African countries, the dictators. And there was something like King Vena. We have the situation in Iran, in Israel right now, in Palestine, where we're seeing some very grievous things going on. I've heard of some really terrible things going on with the way that they're killing women, children, and the likes. And so, yeah, we have this situation right now where we have leaders who are extremely sinful and extremely corrupt. And so does this mean, we don't insult them? That's what the verse is saying, We shouldn't insult the king because of his prowess. But that's also the key point. A leader should have prowess. And if you do a dictionary search on the word prowess, actually, what it means is to be very expert in a specific field. And then we can think about the word expert. It's also one of the 26 qualities of a devotee, to be expert. And in a letter, Prabhupada explains that to be expert means to do the needful, means to do what's necessary, which makes sense. One who is expert is one who sees that there's a lack in some situation or in some area of whatever organization, whatever situation they're in. They see that there's a lack somewhere and they fill that lack. And that's what a leader is. That's what it means to have prowess. So in the case of today, when we see our leaders in the political field, we see that there isn't so much prowess. As the Bhagavatam states, in the Kali Yuga, Shudras will take over everything. That's us, we're the Shudras who took over everything. And we will elect other Shudras to take control of the country. And so this doesn't so much apply to our leaders in the political field, our friends, Cyril Ramaphosa and the likes. But we can take this to mean something within our own society, where we do have leaders who have prowess. We have leaders who are expert, leaders who do the needful. And sometimes we may not always agree with the leaders. Sometimes the leaders may make mistakes. But we should note that the leaders are doing the needful. They're taking responsibility. And that's a big thing. To take personally, I know many senior devotees who don't want to take responsibility, and for good reason. They want to focus on their bhajan. They want to focus on Krishna, which is our main purpose. Actually, institution, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says, it is a necessary evil to have an institution. A necessary evil. So, institution comes with many problems that the endeavoring spiritualist doesn't necessarily want. But for the propagation of Lord Chaitanya's movement, institution is very necessary. We need to have a worldwide institution like this so that we can have temples like this, so we can have people like Ravi come and join us. If we didn't have an institution, Ravi wouldn't have come to listen to the Bhagavatam class. And similarly, none of us would have been here, most likely, if the institution wasn't there. So for somebody to take responsibility of a portion of the institution, it's an amazing thing for somebody to do that. It means that they're expert. They've seen that there's a lack somewhere, and they're filling that lack. And being a leader, there's so many things that they have to consider. There's so many, you have to do the kitchen, you have to make sure everybody's getting food. You have to make sure the grounds are taken care of. You have to make sure the bills are paid. You have to make sure everyone's happy and healthy. So many different responsibilities, so many different places where the leaders have to fill gaps. But what we tend to do is we forget about all of the different things that the leaders are doing, everything that they're doing to keep everything running, and we focus on where they did not fill the gaps. And it's natural, it's human nature for us. We see the gaps and then we make comment on it. So if you're seeing a gap, it means you're also expert, actually. You're quite expert. You can see the gaps. But then it also means you should become a leader. You should take responsibility and become a leader in the organization. And so this is what it means. We have to even though a leader may do something that seems sinful, we should respect them. And I'd like to maybe give a brief account of the Ramayana in the viewpoint of His Holiness Bhaktivigyan Maharaj. He speaks about it in a very nice way, where he links it to envy and finding fault, which is very relevant to this verse. So in the Ramayana, we see that we have King Ram, Lord Ram, and he is the favorite son of his father, Dasarath, who is the king at the time of Ayodhya. And Lord Ram, he's just this amazing personality, and everybody loves him, everybody in the kingdom. Everyone from the servants to the other wives, his aunt, his stepmoms, everyone, they love him so much. And at one point, King Dasarath, he thinks that, okay, I'm getting old now, and it's time for my son to take the throne. Because also, Dasarath, he had an interesting situation. When he was younger, he killed a boy in the forest, the son of two forest dwellers, by accident. He was hunting and he thought it was a deer and he killed this boy. And the father was completely aggrieved because the father and mother were blind and they couldn't take care of themselves. They needed the son to take care of them. And the son was their life and soul. And so when Dasarath killed this boy, he took the boy back as a dutiful king and he explained to the father that, I've killed your son. And this father, he cursed him. He said to Dasarath that you will die, your son will die or you will die. This was either or, one of these two. And so King Dasarath was very afraid that before he could crown Ram as king, that he or Ram would die. And so he very quickly, as he started coming towards his old age, he tried to crown Lord Ram as king. But there was somebody who did not like the leading party, the maidservant of Kaikeya. She was a hunchback lady, but she was the favorite maidservant of Kaikeya. But she had this envy in her heart. She had this feeling that the leaders did not know what they were doing. She had this feeling that if Ram became king, then her lady, or the person she was serving, Kaikeyi, she would not be so prominent. Because Kaikeyi was not the mother of Ram. Kaikeyi was the mother of Bharat. And so she was telling Kaikeyi this. Even though Kaikeyi was so ecstatic when she heard the news that Lord Ram was going to become Shri Radha Radhnath ki, Shri Giriraj Govardhan ki, Shri Gaurahari ki, Srila Prabhupada ki. Yeah, so Kaikeyi was ecstatic when she heard the news, when Dasarath brought the news that Lord Ram was going to become the king. And this maidservant came to her and said, you know what will happen? When Lord Ram becomes king, his mother will become the favorite queen, and you will become her maidservant. Actually, this servant was thinking, when Lord Ram becomes king, my position will be diminished. But she was poisoning Kaikeyi with this. And Kaikeyi was hesitant. She was not feeling that this was the case. Because she loved Ram and she knew what a great Prince Ram was. But still, she was influenced by this envy. And so Kaikeyi had a boon. She could tell Dasarath that she wanted this, and Dasarath had to say, yes. So she told Dasarath, I want this. You promised me this boon, that you would fulfill two of any of my desires. And my two desires are that, one, you will banish Lord Ram. You will banish him to the forest for 14 years. And then you will make Bharat the king. So there was this envy that was coming from Kaikeyi. And then Kaikeyi put that envy onto Dasarath and Lord Ram. So Lord Ram then was banished to the forest. And Lord Ram took it to the chest. He said, yes, I will go to the forest. And Lord Ram goes, and Bharat hears about this. And Bharat is just completely out of it. He does not like this. He doesn't want anything to do with this. He says, no, I will not be king. Lord Ram is king. But his father says, you have to be king. Lord Ram is gone now, you have to be king. So what Bharat does, Bharat goes to the forest. Bharat chastises his mother, heavily chastises his mother. he then has this envy towards his mother. He chastises his mother, and he says that he does not want this. And if I'm not mistaken, he threatens to kill her or something of the sorts. And after this, he goes to the forest and he looks for Lord Ram as Ram is leaving. Lakshman then sees the army of King Bharat coming, looking. And Lakshman is thinking, oh, Lord Ram, Bharat is coming to kill you. So then we have this transference of envy from the maidservant to Kaikeyi, from Kaikeyi to Bharat, from Bharat to Lakshman. Lakshman is now envious of Bharat, thinking, no, Bharat is coming to kill Lord Ram. And so then Bharat comes and he explains, no, this is the situation. I was actually wanting to give the throne back to you. And Lord Ram says, no, my father has instructed me, I must go to the forest. And so he goes to the forest, and Bharat, he says, no, I will stay in the cottage on the side of the kingdom. I will put your shoes on the throne, and you will lead, and I will just lead as your servant. And so like this, he was an exemplary ruler. But Lakshman then had this envious nature that was now cultivated within him. And so what happens then, when Ravana comes, and he brings the mystic with, and he pierces this mystical deer, and Ram goes into the forest and he chases after this deer. He then tells Lakshman, okay, you stay with Sita and make sure that she's safe. Don't leave her side. And then, because of the envy that Lakshman had towards Bharat, Sita becomes envious of Lakshman. This is all transcendental. This was in the Leela. We obviously know that Lakshman is Lord Balaram and Sita is Radharani, so there cannot be really envy between these personalities. But this is the pastime. And so Sita then tells him, I know, you want to enjoy me. This is why you don't want to go save your brother Ram. You want to enjoy me. And Lakshman is just shocked, because Lakshman doesn't even look above the toes, above the feet of Sita. Lakshman is completely sold out to Sita and Ram, and now Sita, his worshipable deity, is telling him that he's trying to enjoy her. And so then we see that Sita is kidnapped by Ravan. They go off to Lanka, the war is fought, and eventually they come back. And then in turn, Sita also has to face the envy. Because when Sita comes back, Lord Ram tells her, you must walk through fire. You are not, we cannot tell if you are pure or not. Obviously Sita is pure. Sita was taken by Agni, and Sita was not for a second in the hands of Ravana. But still, then due to another thing, the insult of one of the citizens, Lord Ram was pure. Lord Ram had not done anything sinful. But according to Veda Dharma, Lord Ram had taken Sita back. Lord Ram had brought Sita back into the kingdom, although she had been with another man. So this appears sinful. Like we see in this verse, it says, when the king is doing something that seems sinful, one should not criticize. But this citizen, this praja, this man, low-class man, he said, what kind of king is Ram? He brought Sita back into the kingdom. He brought Sita back into the kingdom, but she's been with another man. I would never do that. And so Lord Ram makes her walk through fire. And furthermore, Lord Ram exiles her, and she has to leave. She has to go to the forest and stay with the sages. And so we see how this envy is traveling. This is one of the lessons in Ramayana. We see how this envy, this insulting nature, from Kaikeyi's maidservant to Kaikeyi, from Kaikeyi to Bharat, from Bharat to Lakshman, from Lakshman to Sita, and from Sita to Ram. And this praja insulting Lord Ram, saying, what kind of king are you? What kind of Veda Dharmi are you? You are Maryad Purushottam. You are Maryad Avatar. You have come to show us Dharma, but you are bringing this lady back, and she was with another man. And so we see how this nature of wanting to find fault, this nature of envy, it burns It burns the heart of the living entity, and it causes so much trouble, so much pain for everyone who is involved. So this was a great story that I heard from His Holiness Bhaktivigyan Maharaj. He explained it like this: how this envy, how this insulting nature, it affects us, and we can see it. It happens to us. It happens to the best of us. We see our leaders doing something, and immediately our minds go to the negative. And this is actually the nature in the material world. We become more attached to negative things than we do attached to positive things. And you can see it very simply, like within your own life. Maybe one day at Damodar Ashtakam, we come in the evening and it's such a nice kirtan. And maybe in the evening you're thinking about Krishna, and it's a very nice Krishna conscious evening. But it lasts a little bit. It lasts until you go to sleep, and then you wake up again and you have to get up for Mangal Aarti. And it doesn't last so long. But if somebody that evening says something about you, or you have some fallout with somebody, that lasts a lot longer within your mind than any nice feelings. We hold on to these negative feelings. Oh, he said that. Oh, he was wrong in this way. How could he say that about me? But he did this, you know. He's saying this, but he's much worse. He does so many other things. Oh yes, he's worshipping the deity. But I know what he does on the weekends. He's watching the rugby. And so we have this nature. We fester on these negative emotions. We fester on whatever is bad within our atmosphere. It's very difficult to fixate ourselves on what is good. But this is the quality that we have to develop. We have to develop the fixation on what is good, on the good qualities of others. How often can we fixate ourselves on the good qualities of others? But it's so easy for us to fixate on the negative. And this is the disease of envy that is so deep within us. And it's something that is very difficult to conquer, but it's something that we must endeavor to do. It's something that is very essential for spiritual life. Because if we cannot cultivate this attachment to the positive and detachment from the negative, then we can never gain humility. We can never gain love. It's always about respect to me and not respect to others. How can we serve Guru in this mindset? Eventually these offenses, they build up within the heart. And we see it happening. We see it in so many situations. One develops first envious attitude towards the devotees. Then eventually it leads to envious attitudes towards the leaders. Then it eventually leads to envious attitude towards Guru. And we have situations like Ritvik nowadays, where people move towards that direction, where they cannot have faith in the Guru even anymore because of this envy. And so what this verse is really trying to instruct us here is that we need to have respect for those who take positions of authority, positions of responsibility. And we need to cultivate within ourselves this tendency to look for the good and not for the bad. In this chapter as a whole, this is also a theme, that bhakti is independent of things in the past, of past conditionings. We see earlier in this chapter is talking about Dhruva Maharaj actually. And earlier in the chapter, Dhruva Maharaj, he's having this material desire. He has this desire to have a kingdom greater than his grandfather, Lord Brahma. And so he has this intense material desire that's way greater than any of our material desires. What is your strongest ambition? What was, when you were younger, what was your goal in life? Soccer, world star, Ronaldo. Cricket. So we have some desire to become the best cricketer in the world, or we have some desire to become the most popular person in the world. But to have the desire to have a kingdom, the whole world, to own everything, it's like an intense greed. But still, although Dhruva Maharaj is coming from this background, by the touch of Narada Muni, who is an expert spiritual master, his desire for this, his intense desire, his intense greed for material gain, it was transformed into bhakti, into intense bhakti. Krishna bhakti rasa bhakti bhavitamati kriyati yadikutopi labhyati. Greed. This is a verse in Chaitanya Charitamrita where it speaks about having greed for Krishna consciousness. And Dhruva Maharaj, he completely imbibed this after touch with the spiritual master. But he came from a contaminated background, or so-called contaminated background. And similarly, in the case of King Vena, we have who came from King Vena? What came from King Vena? Prithu Maharaj, who was even better than Anga. He was an amazing devotee. 99 horse sacrifices for the pleasure of the Lord. He was exemplary. The 4 Kumaras came to see him and give him instructions. And so even though we may come from contaminated backgrounds, still bhakti is independent. I'd like to read a quote from Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He speaks about, it's from a Bandhu magazine from Madhavananda Prabhu. He writes these magazines every month, and they're very, very nice. If you'd ever like to have something to read, it's something very special. But he's speaking about criticism in this magazine, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he describes that fault-finding with a Vaishnava for any of the following 3 reasons is an offense to the holy name. 1. Impurities that have come from the Vaishnava's past, prag utpana, impurities that are perishing, shaivasista, impure activities that take place accidentally, daivotpana. Thakur writes, criticizing a Vaishnava for any of these reasons prevents namaspurti, the appearance of the holy name in one's heart, and keeps one from becoming a Vaishnava. Therefore, Bhaktivinoda instructs, unless one has noble intentions, one should never discuss about any previous faults that a Vaishnava might have had prior to the awakening of bhakti, nor should a Vaishnava be criticized for any leftover impurities that he or she may have. That's from Sajana Toshani 5.3 and 5.5, an article entitled Vaishnav Ninda. Yeah, so this Vaishnav Ninda, this is similar, it's related as well to the topic, the offenses to a Vaishnav. It's explained that one can find fault in the sense that one can express one's opinion in terms of the leaders, in terms of those who are around us. One can express their concern about something, but not directly at a person, but at a particular fault. If one speaks in a general way, like we see in the case of the likes of Gaur Govinda Maharaj, when he would speak, when he would give classes, he would almost insult everyone, the audience in one sense. He would talk in a general way about, our material desires. Sometimes he would speak about, we want to be a Vaishnava, but the mind is thinking, maybe if I get a nice wife, maybe if I get a nice house. But Guru Maharaj told me to be brahmachari. So he would speak like this. He would speak in a way that was almost offensive towards the people, but he wasn't specifically pointing out a person. So if we want to express some concern or some opinion about some particular wrongdoing or some particular fault within the society, within the world, within other Vaishnavas, it should not be directed at a particular person. Then this is not offense. But when we put names to it, when we particularly refer to a specific person, that becomes Vaishnav Ninda. That becomes offense to the Vaishnavas. So there are healthy ways to express our concern about things, but there are also unhealthy ways to express our concern, which will prevent namaspurti, the appearance of the holy name within the heart. And this is ultimately this is the goal of our lives ultimately. Namaspurti, communion with Krishna within the heart. And without this namaspurti, we will indefinitely look for communion in lower things. It's inevitable. So I'd like to end there and ask for any comments from the senior devotees around. Shatruguna Prabhu, do you have anything that you'd like to say? Yes. Dhirarata Prabhu. Mother Sukumari, anything? Nikunja Mataji? Right. Moiteri. Nandashesh Prabhu, anything? Okay. Alright, so we'll end there. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda ki, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki.